Hello, folks. Welcome to India to Germany. I'm your host Paras Mehta, and today I'll be speaking with Karthik Perumal. Karthik has a very interesting background. He transitioned from academic research in physics into machine learning at Porsche Digital now, and he's working at Porsche Digital at the moment. Welcome, Karthik. Thank you for speaking with us.
Uh, Thanks, Paras, for inviting me to your podcast.
So, Karthik, you're from India originally. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about where you're from in India and.
Okay, I'm from Kadattur, a small town in Tamil Nadu. Usually in India, it takes like 5 to 7 years for doing a PhD. So I wanted to be rather quick, and I heard that in Europe it usually takes like 3 to 4 years. Like if you look at USA, it takes like almost similar to India, like 5 to 7 years. So I decided to move to Europe. And within Europe, Germany was my first option as they fund a lot for research. At the time, I was also working at TCS just after my master's degree. So I was simultaneously looking for a PhD position in Germany. And then I heard about DIAD scholarship. I applied for it and I got it. So once I got the PhD offer, I decided to quit my job. And then I came to Berlin for my PhD studies. And that's how I came here.
Interesting. So you were already you had already decided right from the beginning that you wanted to do a PhD and go into research.
Yeah. So actually, when I started my after my school, I took physics because I was interested in physics, and then I decided, okay, I should continue till my PhD, and then I decide what to do. So that's how I from beginning I had this in mind that I should be involved in research.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what kind of applications does this have?
Okay, right now we are focusing. Mainly on automotive industry. Mainly Porsche is our customer, and we are focusing on stress testing of different car components. And for the stress testing, mainly, for example, in the present case, we are focusing on doors. Before a car goes into production, the car has to be a new model has to be tested for.
How and why you came to Germany?
Yeah, so I am mainly involved in machine learning related projects at Porsche Digital, and currently I am focusing mainly on sound-based anomaly detection methods. So with a bit of supervised and semi-supervised learning. Yeah, I was mainly interested in research during my studies, like during my bachelor's and master's, and I wanted to do a PhD. Different conditions, like climatic conditions, like extreme temperatures, like -40 to +90 degree. So we do this kind of tests to make sure that the cars that we produce are of the highest standards. And for this, we use machine learning.
So you mentioned you use both unsupervised and supervised methods. Which methods specifically do you use for this?
For this right now, we approach both in an unsupervised fashion as well as in I would say semi-supervised fashion. And so far, the supervised approach looks really promising. And the ones we deployed currently are like a supervised approach.
Okay. And you develop do you use any specific libraries, or which technologies do you use to develop your models?
We use TensorFlow currently. And mostly since we are using deep learning based methods, those showed better results than conventional machine learning methods. So we are mainly using TensorFlow at the moment. We are slowly thinking of moving to PyTorch, but right now all our deployed models are based on TensorFlow. Chatbots to sound-based classification. We also did some kind of driver analysis and also like crash detection. I was involved in a lot of projects, and initially it was more about proof of concept, but later slowly like a new job. And then at the time, I didn't want to move to another postdoc because postdoc contracts are like just 1 year or typically like 3-year contract. And I didn't want to move on from one place to another. So I decided to look for a job in industry. And once we merged into Porsche Digital, which is the company that I'm working on currently, we decided to build more products. And after this, like in the last I would say like 1.5 years, I am mainly focused on this anomaly detection project.
All right. So it seems like you've been working at Porsche or Porsche Digital for a while now.
Yeah, almost 3 years now.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've already gained a lot of experience in machine learning, it seems.
Yeah, I'm still learning. Yeah.
That's nice. And before you ventured into machine learning, you were doing something like completely different. What was that about, and how is it that you transitioned into machine learning?
Before I came to Porsche Digital, I was working as a postdoc at DESY, like a research institute in Hamburg, which is one of the brightest sources of light in the world. There, I was mainly doing like structural investigation of crystalline materials, like mainly using high resolution diffraction. There, I liked the job, but the one drawback was I had a fixed contract for only 5 years, and my contract was almost coming to an end, and it was time for me to move on to, for me, like someone who has less knowledge in German. I thought it would be better like if I move to somewhere where I don't have to worry much about my language skills, like German language skills. And I decided to move into data science. At that time, data science was also a fast growing field. So I decided, okay, since I know a bit of Python and I was also doing a lot of data analysis during my PhD and postdoc, I decided to like jump into data science.
And when was this? Around which year?
This was around 2016. I decided to move, and at that point of time, I like simultaneously I was taking some few online courses. And then in 2017, I actually took 3 months break from my job, and then I did a 3-month intern course in Berlin.
Okay.
And then I went back to my job while I was simultaneously searching for a machine learning person. And then once I got it, I quit my job.
All right. Okay, that sounds great. And so you mentioned online courses, and you also did this intensive course to gain skills in machine learning. Were there any other sources of which you used for gaining skills in this area?
Yeah, at the time I was mainly doing online courses, but I felt I was still lacking something. I applied for few roles at the time, and I felt like I was not getting any reply. So I decided, okay, maybe it's time for me to like focus more intensively on the course, and that's where I decided to do this boot camp called Data Science Retreat in Berlin. It was a bit expensive, but I thought, okay, I mean, if I am going to a new job, I should be prepared for it. I should not just like by chance, if I get a job and if I don't know what I'm doing, it will be really bad. So I decided, okay, I should not be in a position where I'm struggling with something. So I decided, okay, I focus intensively on this data science, and then that's why I decided to do the intensive course, and actually it helped me a lot.
Okay, so you would recommend it to others as well?
Yeah.
Even though it is expensive, like you said.
Yeah, but also there are some other options where it is free, like Science to Data Science. I think it is in London. There the course is free, but they help you to do a industry project. And then there is this Insight Fellowship, which is also free. But the problem at the time was it was only in US, which means you have to get a visa for it. And since I was already in a job, I didn't focus on it. I wanted to stay somewhere close. And for me, Berlin was the closest at the time.
All right. And what did you exactly, so for in these 3 months, what was it like? What did you do?
So in the first 1.5 months or 2 months, it was mostly about like there were few excellent teachers. They were teaching the concepts of machine learning, deep learning, and at the end of like 1.5 months or 2 months, like each one of us, like we decided, or not we decided, like it was part of the curriculum that everyone takes a project, any problem, and then they try to solve using machine learning. So the last 1.5 months was focused on like building a portfolio project.
Okay, so yeah, basically they first give you like the theoretical knowledge that you need, and then you apply it to a project.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the 3-month course, like you have a project which you can show to others, like something, not something that is available on internet readily, but something you did on your own, like right from the data collection to solving some problem. So that means you show your skills that you learn something, and then it makes it easier for like a hiring manager to look into it and then hire you.
Yeah, that's very important. So I also had a look at your profile before I contacted you for this interview, and I saw that you have worked both as a data scientist and as a machine learning engineer in your career. So what I was curious about is how was this data science role or data scientist role different from this machine learning role?
I would say a machine learning engineer should be able to write production level code, and they should also have some skills necessary for deployment. Anyone with experience in deployment. So I decided like to focus on the machine learning engineer part. So build like writing production level code and then deploying models into the production. But later, like over the course of few months, we hired few people who are dedicated. We were focusing on deployment. So now I am back to doing data science.
Okay, so one could say like yeah, like you said, if you have some software engineering skills or like DevOps kind of skills, it would make more sense to go into machine learning engineering profile. Otherwise, if you have more maybe perhaps data analysis or statistics kind of a profile, then you could go into makes more sense to go into a data science profile.
Yeah, I would say if you have computer science background or DevOps, definitely machine learning engineer path is the right path. But if you are coming from a non-computer science background like me, with background in physics, or for example, if you have background in some other subject like maths or something, I don't know, biology or something else, it is better to focus on data science role, and then maybe over time, if you want, you can switch over to machine learning engineer role.
Okay. So I guess you also have knowledge about how to like look for a job in this field. So I was wondering like if you have a suggestion for some sort of topics in machine learning which are popular in Germany these days, which people who are looking for jobs should focus on, for example.
I would say a vast majority of the people with whom I had interacted, almost all of them use Python for development. So I would say Python skills are a must. And I would say it's also the industry standard. Regarding machine learning topics, it varies from one industry to another. Like some companies are mainly focused on deep learning, and some companies they typically use conventional or traditional machine learning techniques, and that should be more than sufficient. So I would suggest, like if you're looking for a job, to learn the traditional machine learning techniques as well as some deep learning, that should be sufficient. Reinforcement learning is something not so many companies are looking for, or they don't use it now. So I would say traditional machine learning techniques as well as deep learning should be more than sufficient if you're looking for a job in Germany.
Okay, and to basically get familiar with these, maybe would you suggest online courses or what would you suggest as resources?
I would definitely, I started with online courses. So definitely, that's the right place to start. There are a lot of free courses, thoroughly like what it is doing, how it is doing. Just learn the basics. It helps a lot once you know a bit. I mean, once you do few online courses, I would suggest to start working on a topic that you are interested in. Like it can be any topic. It can be related to the work that you did in the past, and try to apply machine learning techniques on it. If not, otherwise, I would suggest the other option is like participate in some online competitions like Kaggle, as well as there are some paid courses in Coursera. So definitely online courses helps a lot. And also you should be able to read a lot of articles. Like if you learn a new machine learning technique, I don't know, random forest or linear regression or logistic regression, whatever, just learn. Whether you succeed or not, that is different thing, but you learn a lot from other people, like how they approach the problem. So more than the online courses, it helps interacting with other people. So Kaggle is another option where you can learn a lot, and then possibly it can also help you to get a job. And there are also a lot of like, for example, Stanford or New York University, or few universities, they offer, I mean, they publish their course content on YouTube, so that is also a good resource which is free.
So you would suggest first not only to basically know the theoretical foundations of a technique, but more importantly to also focus on like the implementation and on the practical use of so getting hands-on experience with those techniques.
Yeah, definitely. But still, in the beginning, it is better to focus on the fundamentals. Try to understand like what the algorithm. I mean, what are the pros and cons of using a particular machine learning algorithm. And then, like once you understand some basics, like you don't have to understand like completely everything, but once you understand something, then start applying what you learned. And only through practice you will improve.
Sure, that's true. So, and are there any names that come to your mind when you think about companies that are using machine learning or which are working in this area in Germany?
Uh, in Germany, Zalando as one of the biggest machine learning teams. I heard like something around 100 people are working on machine learning there. And then, so that should definitely be a top choice. Other companies that come to my mind in Germany are like SoundCloud, 20 billion neurons, IM. Also, besides that, I would say like Berlin has a rich startup ecosystem, and quite a lot of them hire data scientists. So if you like the startup culture here, that's also something you should definitely look into it. And if you're looking in the automotive sector, since I come from the automotive sector, I would say like MHP is a good choice if you don't know where to start. MHP is a consultancy based company mainly for automotive industries, and they hire a lot of people, including data scientists, so almost on a monthly basis. So that would be a nice option. And if you would like, I mean, if you don't want to focus on products or more about, if you are interested more in research, I would suggest Argmax, argmax.ai. It's a research wing of Volkswagen, if you are more interested in research. And finally, I would like to advertise our own company, Porsche Digital. Currently, there is a stagnation in hiring due to Corona, but hopefully, we'll start hiring once the situation improves.
So that there seems to be a lot going on actually in Germany in this area.
Yeah, definitely.
And what does the hiring process usually look like for machine learning and data science positions?
When I was looking for a job, I felt that in Germany, the hiring process is quite slow, and usually it takes somewhere between 1 to 3 months. So it is not very quick. So you have to wait a lot. So if you are already looking for a switch, try to start applying like 2 or 3 months in advance. Usually, we in Germany it takes like 2 or 3 rounds of interview. The first is usually the HR round, uh, and then the second and third are mostly the technical rounds. So in some companies, they give you a sample problem for you to solve. They usually give like, I don't know, like depends on the problem, like one day or like up to a week. They look at your solution and they try to decide based on how good your solution is. Like based on, they just look at. I mean, you don't have to come up with a awesome solution, but they basically look at your thought process while coming up to the solution. So in most cases, it is mostly like you have a problem to solve, and suppose if you are an experienced developer, I mean, mostly this problem solving is kind of like not there. So if you are an experienced developer, already people know what you did. So, or if you have a good portfolio, or if you have good online presence, maybe it's a bit faster.
Okay. So it seems like this portfolio like is something that's very important to have to apply for these jobs.
I mean, it would be really nice if you have, like, I mean, if you are a beginner, like if you are starting, if you are doing a transition from a different field to data science, it would definitely be helpful. I mean, if you are already in this field, and if you have computer science, or if you have data science background, it won't matter much. But the problem is, like, if you come from a different background, people do not know how good you are, so they just or how good you code. So if you have some like few projects on GitHub, people can have a look at it, and then they can judge you based on that. So it makes it easier for the hiring managers to shortlist the candidates.
Yeah, that makes sense also. And the assignment for taking home, so it's basically something you have a couple of days to do. Is there any way to prepare for it, or
I mean, I would say, I mean, first of all, I'm not a fan of this method. But on the other hand, even in our company, sometimes we do it because we don't want to hire someone without knowing what their skills are. And also, we usually give simple tasks. Like, I mean, we are mainly interested in their thought process, like how they try to approach a problem, right from the data analysis to like building a model, and how they approach the problem is more important than the results they get at the end. So, I mean, if you practice few data sets, it should be more than enough. I wouldn't say like you don't need extra preparation, I would say.
okay? And you said that you are not really a fan of this approach.
Yeah, because I mean, some companies, I mean, in our company, we usually give open source data sets, like completely different data set than what we are working on. But some companies, on the other hand, like they give data sets similar to the problem that they are working on. So this is, I would say, like you are, in the name of hiring, you are indirectly getting ideas from others. So, I mean, I don't like it if they give a problem that is similar to the topic they are working on. But if they give completely different, like in our company, we make sure that we don't use anything related to what we are doing. We just use any open source data set which other people would have used. So we don't try to spoil or try to use their ideas.
Yeah, that's I understand. Yeah, that's true. And you yourself moved from like a completely different field into machine learning. Do you have any recommendations for? I mean, these days there are a lot of people who want to move into machine learning from other fields. Do you have any recommendations for them?
Yeah, if you are coming from a completely different field, like from a non-computer science background, I mean, definitely you should learn coding. And with coding, I would suggest like to start with Python, as it is easier to learn, as well as like almost most of the data science companies, most of the companies doing machine learning use Python. So definitely that is a must. And then I would say like start with few online courses, as I said before. Like start with traditional machine learning algorithms. Don't directly dive into deep learning. Start with conventional machine learning, and then do few deep learning courses. And this should be sufficient. And then start applying your skills whatever you learned. And yeah, as I said, like also like try to publish it on GitHub, or like also participate in few competitions, casual competitions to improve your skills. And that should be more than enough. This can definitely help you if you help you to switch the job, and if you perform well in this online competitions, or like if you have good GitHub portfolio, it can make it easier for you to transition.
Okay. And for you, in your case, how long do you think was this phase where you prepared to transition from one to the other?
I mean, in my case, it was like I would say like I started like before I did the intensive course, I was doing few like 3 months before I started. So I would say like it took me like 6 months of intensive learning, and then searching for it afterwards.
And were there any websites or that you used for searching for jobs, or any resources that you would like to recommend for people who are looking for jobs in this field?
Uh, I mean, when I was looking for a job, I was mainly looking for, I mean, looked in LinkedIn,
Okay.
jobs in LinkedIn. Um, and then I just did simple Google search. I didn't really focus too much on that. I also applied only like around 15 or 20 companies which came to my mind, and then I didn't focus too much. And I also like didn't switch my job also like once I moved to machine learning, so I don't know much about it.
Okay. So actually, it wasn't very difficult for you to make this switch, it seems.
Uh, yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, I don't know. I felt like somehow I was lucky, or I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I quickly got a job like while I was still in the other job. So uh, yeah, I didn't. Yeah, for me, I don't know. I was lucky that I got a job at the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's also very encouraging for others who are looking to make this, to do this transition.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah, Karthik, thank you very much for sharing your valuable advice and experience with us.
Thanks a lot also for like uh, having a discussion and inviting me to your podcast.
You're welcome. Thank you. That's all, folks. Remember to subscribe to our podcast and check out our blog on indiatogermany.com.